So we just came out the recording studio and we are in the editing or the re-recording process. And I'm really happy about some of the new songs that have come forward. So look forward soon. But I'd like for Richard to play one, lead us in Holy Beings this morning. Fast, Richard. He's bluegrass, they got a certain tempo.
Beyond bluegrass. All right.
Will this help him from wherever we're seated?
Suddenly I'm searching.
I don't know
why I start to get the feeling there. My mind, and I don't know where I'm going. Don't know what I'll find. One thing's for certain, left this world behind. Everything is clear like the dawn before the storm, like lightning and thunder, like a new baby's born, and something stirs within me, deep down inside. Mighty giant longing slumber opens up its eyes. Holy being, awaken in me, holy water, wash me clean. I will shine and I will see. Holy being, awaken in me. Thought I was old, thought I was weak, thought there was nothing left inside of me, but thinking's just thinking, dreaming a dream. The real world I'm feeling, boundless energy. Holy being, holy water, wash me clean. I will shine and I will see. Holy being, awaken me. After so many years, how can it be? Just seeing something right in front of me. I lay it all down, I fall on my knees. I am free. I plunge into the wilderness. I will feel no fear, 'cause my heart is pure and my mind is clear, and I feel the angels guide me where I began. Sacred source of everything, circle without end. Holy being, awaken me, holy water.
I found something on the, not too close to.
That's as far back as you.
Something on the internet yesterday, and I just wanted to share this. This may or may not tie into my Donald talk. We shall see. One of my favorite stories is in a mother's womb with two babies, and one turns to the other and says, "Do you believe in life after delivery?" And the other one replies, "Well, of course, there has to be something after delivery. Maybe we're here to prepare ourselves for what will be later." "Nonsense," said the first baby. "There's no life after delivery. What kind of life would that be?" "I don't know," said the second one, "but there'll be more life than here. Maybe we'll walk with our legs and eat with our mouths. Maybe we'll have other senses that we can't understand." The first one goes, "That's ridiculous. Walking is impossible. And eating with our mouths? That's absurd. The umbilical cord is what scientifically supplies nutrition and all that we need, but it's far too short. Life after delivery is to be logically excluded." The second says, "What if it's just different than here? Maybe we don't need that physical cord anymore." First goes, "Okay, if there were life after delivery, then tell me, why has no one ever come back from there?" Delivery is the end of life, and after delivery is nothing but darkness and silence and oblivion. It takes us nowhere. The second says, "But certainly we'll meet Mother, and she'll take care of us." First goes, "Mother? You actually believe in Mother? If Mother exists, where's she now?" Second goes, "Well, she's all around us. We are of her. It is in her that we live. Without her, this world would not and could not exist." And the first says, "I don't see her. It's only logical that she's not here then." The second replies, "Sometimes when you're in silence and you really listen, you can perceive her presence. You can hear her love." And I think that's one of them. It's not profound to one who has entered a certain state of realization. But to me, it is such a profound answer to the one who can only accept the information that's coming through their sense gates, what they see, hear, taste, touch, smell, and think. And it was like the best possible answer. I don't care how much scholarship, that's the word. I don't care how much scholarship you add to that, it can't get any better than that. No, it is just, it shows us the truth of our delusions and the truth of our narrowness, and what keeps us from being able to enter into the promises of the saints, the promises of the masters, the promises of the holy beings, the promises of the awakened ones. It keeps us from being able to enter by our rational conclusions that have been drawn from an infantile understanding of the nature, the true nature of reality. Now, I loved it because it was talking about two babies, right? And although they were both babies and both in the womb, one had a certain capacity, to open up beyond what one could physically see and touch and surmise, but yet a baby. But the other could not at all. And so I like it because it talks about what came before here, before now, before this world, before this incarnation. Our our psychology goes far and it does a lot of help, but it starts at when we are born and the circumstances that we find ourselves in this world. What is so profound about the Dharma is that I was tired this morning. I'm not now. What's profound about the Dharma is that it starts before then. And so we spend maybe our whole life in therapy trying to understand what our mother and what our father did to us or what happened in our neighborhood that informed the way we think. And we forget about the 10,000 births that occurred before there that have seeds stored in the Alaya consciousness. And that's what I'm saying. If we're going to keep starting at the tail end, like what happened yesterday, we're never going to break through the ignorance and the delusion that besets us. And so we should not reduce the Dharma to mere worldly psychology. And this is not a dig against psychology. It is an exhortation and an encouragement to really be able to see and hold the Dharma in its rightful place. And to the one who has eyes to see and ears to hear, there is the possibility of penetrating and overcoming our ignorance. When? Not in the future, but in this very life. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not for you. It just matters whether you realize the truth of it or not. And so this is where we find ourselves as human beings in our conceit around our state. But when we measure it against the states that can be attained, we can see that it is woefully lacking. What I like about Kadar is that sometimes when the Dharma is being shared, sometimes it's rough, you know, and sometimes it's hard to accept, and sometimes it's a truth that's so in your face that you just almost want to hide from it, how it reveals you, how it shows your true modus operandi. It's like what you think is hidden, what you think people can't see, and sometimes what you think people misunderstand, that they have not misunderstood at all, you know, but when it comes forth, there is a kind of vanity that we have that causes us to like superimpose a kind of face, a face saving face. So like that, she ain't talking about me, you know. When you know the Dharma absolutely is, and if you can receive it right in that moment is where the cutting can occur that will slice that thing away from you, that will be the line of demarcation, that will be the impetus by which you can absolutely abandon it, but only in that moment. And if you let that moment pass because of your vanity, then you miss the opportunity to enter into the very freedom that you were seeking. And so sometimes, you know, we'll be talking and Donna's going forward, and I see the tears start to trickle, you know, and I see her crying, not because I know something that she's thinking or something that she's doing or something that she has done or something that she's contemplating doing. I don't know any of that. You know, don't need to know any of that, but she needs to know it. It's the awakening of consciousness that we impede through the need to cover ourselves at the time that if we offered a true surrender, that would be our very way of escape. This is how we should hold the Dharma. This is how we should see it. It should be alive. It should be pertinent. It should be immediate. He sang a line in that song, and he said he was going to do something immediately. It's that immediance. Is that a word? Oh, well, it is now. It's that immediance that's necessary for us to pass through barriers. There's a practice we have called, isn't that the name? The Dharma that passes through barriers. And when I first read about it, I love everything the Buddha Master say. That which I have attained, that's what I see in my view. That which is around the corner and down the bend that I can't even imagine, or it's not that I don't accept it. I just don't accept it for me right now. And so, but when I read this one about the Dharma that passes through barriers, I go, oh, no. He was saying to take we have littling issues, we have middling issues, and we have big issues. But he said, the way we are instructed is to start with the small things first, take care of the little things, and then when we get a little stronger, we can take care of, little bigger issues. And then when we are like fully developed, then we can take care of the biggest issues. He said, no, start with the biggest one first. He said, because if you start with the biggest one, then all the rest of let's fall down like dominoes. I said, that sounds good. But there was a fear in me to tackle my biggest one. First of all, he'd already preferenced how this is going to go. And he says, and take the biggest one first and give yourself whatever he said, 3 weeks or a month. I'm absolutely breaking this. I'm cutting this out. I'm ending this. I'm quitting this, or I'm taking up that, or whatever it is that you think is like your biggest obstacle. And he says, and if you don't attain it in 3 weeks, you're worse than what did he say? A dog, a worm, something like that. And I was like, oh, man, I mean, he just put you down so bad. But it's a way of teaching. It's a way of involving you to the utmost degree. It's like I'm not gonna half-ass go into this. I'm gonna go all the way with all my strength, all my integrity, with all my might, with all my heart, and we do that with a lot of things that concern us and the world, but we don't do it to that extent around our spiritual practice. We like apologetics. You know, we like to talk about gentleness. We like to talk about the the gradual path. We like to talk about, and there's nothing wrong with any of those things, but now I'm talking about if one wants to undertake a practice that absolutely overcomes the obstacles of living and dying. That's what I'm talking about today. And so there's a certain level of teaching that is required for that. And one has to have a certain propensity to hear, a certain desire to hear, and then the courage to hear. And this becomes difficult for us when we don't want to be pushed too far. It becomes difficult for us. And he says, oh, don't you realize that this is a practice? You don't know your own strength until you see how much weight you can lift. And sometimes we don't think we can lift that much. And we get provoked or we get encouraged. Either one, it doesn't matter. We get provoked or encouraged to try a little heavier weight. And we find, oh, I can even lift that. And there is some kind of a confidence that emerges, that arises from that effort. And so this is not a practice for wimps. It's not a practice for one that's blasé. It's not a practice for one who has not created the conditions to hear. Now, if I'm only thinking about this life, then I may not have the conditions. See, I used to think it was so, of all the places I could have been born, like America is number one, you know. And because I think about, if in a worldly sense, I mean, we're losing a lot of that now, things come and they go, impermanence. But I was thinking in a worldly sense, about some of the advantages that we have. But now, then, secondly, or later, I started thinking, and so the advantages, like we can freely study the Dharma. We can, like, I got all my goody two shoes thing going, like around being able to hear the Dharma. I mean, but what if what you hear is counterfeit Dharma? What if what you hear is only half the story, so you can't get wholly there because you only have half of the story? What if in this diaspora, we have not had the caliber of teachers that could arouse our faith to the overcoming level. So we haven't seen certain things. So we just bring the Dharma down to what we have seen and what we have heard. So I'm thinking, though, that this is the best place, to be, because we can freely study whatever we have, you know. Then later I started thinking, no, it would have been better if I had been born in like a Buddhist country. But Buddhist countries don't act like Buddhists in general. I mean, uh, and then I wonder, how could they be this way when they had this wonderful Dharma, they could teach us about all the vicissitudes of life, and okay, and then I look at how they live, and I said, well, they're missing some understanding about something, even though we're like the renegades over here in the West, like we're better than how they live in a certain way, not in all ways, but in a certain way. But then, as you continue following this path, you get along the lines of a non-differentiating view, like, because you start to penetrate into the true nature of reality. That's not this or that. For a time, it's um, this or that. Then it becomes not this or that. And then it becomes this and that. And and there is a space beyond that that is just an absolute naturalness. And to the one who's not entered into that state, they cannot hear words about it, because words don't really describe the reality of it. I can say, I love you, um, and mean it with all my heart and stab you in the back tomorrow if I think you did something to me. I can say, I, you, words are just not the whole picture. And sometimes what we see expressed as something like as love is just that part that we see right then. I mean, we could just look at falling out rates. I'm not talking about just divorce rates. I'm talking about friendship falling out. I'm talking about business partnerships falling apart. I'm talking about all of that. I love living here today, and tomorrow you say I'm moving. I'm talking about all of that. There's always the leaving. There's always the leaving. And this is rooted in our inability to come into a space of non-differentiation that will end for you when one enters, as one more fully enters into non-differentiation, because it really doesn't matter. It flips us towards the end of the eighth consciousness, uprooting the seventh consciousness, where all our delusions exist, in that seventh consciousness, and our thoughts, and in our perceptions and in our theories and in our ideas and in our views and in our, that's where we are all jumbled up. That's where we're all confounded. That's where and so we're all unreliable. Not reliable, unreliable. But when you recognize that you no longer expect the unreliable to be reliable, and there is a freedom that comes with that. There is a freedom that comes that allows one to be with the difficulties of life because they don't see them as difficulties, they just see them as the nature of things, the unenlightened nature of things. And as one enters into the enlightened nature of things, the unenlightened has no power or authority over them. And then we no longer evaluate things as big or little, as large or small, as great or infinitesimal, as rich or deficient. There is another way that we hold everything in life, as taking a long time or occurring in a short time. These things lose their significance. I mean, it doesn't mean that they don't actually exist. It's just that you're not bothered by it. It doesn't mean that it's not a I was going to say not a irritation, but it becomes something even less than that. I mean, nevertheless becomes your byword. This can be going on, happening, and it's bad, but nevertheless, one can forge ahead. This can be going on, and it's really good. Nevertheless, I'm not delayed, fettered, hindered by that. I'm not going to like just roll back and rest here for a while because this is going so good. I have to keep the trajectory of expansion moving. And so I'm saying to you, let your Dharma be like this for you. And then you will know how to live in this illusory existence. And there won't be so much of a struggle trying to get to the other shore because you recognize that the other shore is none other than this shore. And the things that you see will begin to shift and change according to your understanding of universal nature, according to your understanding of reality. And the encouragement that comes is that you will be able to see and know your own progress, regardless of what others think about you, regardless of whether they think you missed the boat. I mean, you won't even think they missed the boat. Because you'll know, if not this year, next year, if not this life, perhaps next life. And because you don't have this lockdown around timing, this lockdown around the success of others, one can focus with a sincere heart on what their own great wish is. And if your great wish is for the liberation of all beings, there will be no way you can escape its path. So one doesn't have to be so hard on oneself. One just has to be sure about what one wants. And just holding that assuredness creates the karmic conditions for them to encounter the teachings, or to encounter the being, or to encounter the situation, or to have a wise twin in the womb. So I didn't even get to where I was going. That was the prelude. but but I think that I should leave it there. Reality is the state of no birth and no death. It is not a tangible physical thing. And when we think about birth and death, we're thinking only of the tangible and the physical. No birth and no death is another way of speaking about the emptiness of our original nature that has been obscured over these eons by avidya. Since beginningless time, our Buddha master said, beginningless time can just mean you don't have to try to think about like when did this occur, because the when doesn't even matter. It could have been yesterday, last year, 10,000 years ago. It doesn't matter. If the condition exists now, that's the only thing that matters. But in another sense, we can accept the concept of beginningless time if we look at something from a worldly perspective. That's why all worldly Dharma is Buddha Dharma. So if we look at this little Bodhi tree right here, we could say, how did it come into being? By virtue of a Bodhi seed. And how did that come into being? By virtue of another Bodhi tree that gave forth and produced that seed. And how did that come? By another Bodhi seed. So where was the first Bodhi tree? There's no place that we can say that it is. I'm speaking of emptiness, something coming out of the emptiness in that sense. Going back to the analogy of the twins in the womb, which twin will I be? And how I decide and what I take as absolute and concrete, what I hold as the truth. The fear around expanding beyond anything that I can't personally manage. Being willing to understand them as obstacles that are of our own making. We recognize that any moment we can choose freedom. Any moment we can choose liberation. And we're encouraged to not let that moment pass. It's an inner conviction, it's an inner declaration, and we all have the invitation to open up and receive that. Everything that we use beyond that moment of invitation to move towards the freedom that is as close as our nose. Every moment, every decision, every thought around what is the meaning of that? What is the truth of that? And what is keeping me, hindering me from even being open to receive it? And you ask the question with a sincere heart, you will get an answer. It's not a matter of if you're listening. You will get an answer. And you'll decide, let's go. Or you'll decide, I have to change too much. Or you decide, what will people think about me? I'll lose my stature before who? Dead people? You know? What have I lost? But if one brings their whole conscience to that moment of engagement, they have in that instant planted a seed in that eighth consciousness that will bring forth fruit, whether today, tomorrow, this year, 10 years from now, next life, 10 lives down. And that's the great hope I have for everyone who comes within the hearing of the dawn. Let him who have ears to hear what it is speaking to your heart. So sometimes some things get co-opted by academia, and then it becomes rooted in the human mind consciousness. And these become our ultimate truths. And the Dharma comes. And it cannot penetrate because our whole sense of who we have is tied in to our social construct. What you think about me. What we agree on is the truth. Might not be the truth at all, but if we agree upon it, then that becomes our truth. But there is a place of shattering, and it must be shattered unless we want more of the same. If you want to roll around in samsara endlessly. But there is another social construct available to us, so we can align with the holy beings who have understood not the concepts, but who have understood the principles and the precepts of the Dharma. And it will lead us on a different trajectory. And that path of peace will be not dependent upon anything external in the world. And we can hold all things with a good heart. Because our vision expands, it becomes vaster, so that we don't just see this thing so big looming in front of our faces that we can't get around it any kind of way we choose. Our vision expands out, and that thing that was this big becomes a speck, SPECT, in the vastness. And that's where the peace, the way our definition of peace is not right. Just thinking about what we call peace or contentment, we have the wrong idea about it. We think it's this little sweet muffy kind of thing, you know. It's just to be undisturbed, but it's not that. It is, this peace extends from a feeling. It's more than a feeling. This peace is a kind of a power that has the capacity to uh, uh, I was going to say to succor or bring comfort to, but it goes beyond that. It has the capacity for there to not be discomfort. And so it allows you to be able to hold all things, to endure all things, and be ever ready, not run down, so that one is so put under or pushed under that they can't even function. But they remain ever ready when there's an opportunity for some change to slide in there that would create some promise of a better condition. They are right there, ready, and they can slot right in because they have not gotten broken down and wearied and restless and worn out. There is, and that's where that space of non-differentiation doesn't mean something's not happening. It doesn't mean that at all. But it does mean that one can hold whatever is happening from a larger space so that they see more than just what is happening. And because there is an understanding of what is happening, and they're not troubled because their sense of timing is not locked into just this moment. It's not locked into just this year. It's not locked into, just this time frame. But as we move into the vastness or the lose the concept, let go of the concept of time in the way that we hold time. Our holding of time is just a convenience for us around the things that we are attached to, and how much time we have with them or without them. So we have, we collectively create a construct around our attachments. I tell you the truth, when you lose your attachments, you lose the ordinary concept of time. You also lose the ordinary concept of space or spatial or what's appearing within space. So no need to talk anymore about that. I'm just saying, you will begin to lose the limitations that obstruct and obscure, that keep you from seeing the way of escape, or from being able to provide the way of escape. And it doesn't mean that we have no feelings, but our feelings are tempered according to how much of the true nature of reality we recognize. This is not words on paper or just words, period. But it is life, a way of living. And because you know the words on the paper, the words in a book, or even if you just get it orally and hear the words, it doesn't mean that you are walking in the reality of them. I have a big marker in my book, and I just like it because it reminds me sometimes when I'm learning something, hearing something for the first time, sometimes for the 50th time, because I didn't really hear it in this way the first time. Many times Buddha Master says, don't get frustrated with me. He says, because I'm inculcating your mind. And you might not hear it, what I'm saying the first time. But that's all right. When I repeat it the 10th time, maybe you'll hear it then. Or the 50th time. Or the 100th time. But the things I keep highlighting, going back to, he was talking about reality. And he said, what is meant by reality? Or he could have asked any question. What are the Four Noble Truths? Or it doesn't matter what the question was. That just happened to have been the question on this page where his discourse was going to pick up on that day. And he said, the minds of some disciples are, okay, see, the minds of some disciples are beginning to get clouded already. And that meant he needed to leave it, to let something percolate inside, to not cover it up with more. In that way, little becomes much. I'd like to end with this passage, this shore. It's a place of suffering where living beings live with birth and death and transmigration and afflictions. The word afflictions doesn't mean much difference to me than the word blessing, because I'm not afraid of affliction. And because I'm not grasping for blessings. Because a path is a path of blessings doesn't mean that one grasps after them. It's just like walking on a dusty road, dust gets on your shoe. It's not a thing that you have to grasp after. It comes by virtue of you walking on the dusty path. Dust will get on your shoes. The blessings, you can't prevent them. So if they have not occurred in your life, then the causes that bring about that condition have not yet come into being, not yet manifested. You can't make them. They're the result of something. I can't, we talk about creating the conditions for things, but that's like putting the cart before the horse. It's like putting the cart before the horse. We don't, it's by our natural conduct that the fruits come. If we don't like the fruits in our life, then whatever we're doing, do something else. But if what we do, we know is noble, then we know that maybe it hasn't reached its tipping point, but it will if I hold fast, if I remain steady. And that's where the capacity to overcome praise and blame come in. That's where the capacity to tolerate loss as well as to receive gain comes in. The capacity to be with pain and not be, when I say overcome by pleasure, I mean not be in a place that if it's not pleasurable, I can't tolerate it. Like I got to always be having fun. And there's two more. What's the other? Pleasure, pain, loss, fame, and shame. If one knows with their own heart and their own mind that the path they have taken up is noble and honorable, that is leading them to a truth higher than the one that they're on, then shame has no resting place. It means nothing to you. It only means something to people who clamor after the kind of recognition that they think is possible. I mean, if people will shame you around what they are attached to, and because you're not attached to it, they think something is wrong with you, but that's all right. Let them stay true to your own conscience, to your own mind, to your own heart. And I tell you, you don't have to worry. If you start going off the deep end, you start going off on a tangent, this new social strata that you've entered into the mind realm of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas and the Dharmapalas and the holy beings, the virtuous ones, they will let you know. They will nudge you. They will encourage you. If you let them, they will correct you. If you let them. And when they see that you don't have the capacity for something that could hurt you if you enter into that territory, they will close the door. And sometimes we feel prevented. There were a lot of times that I got upset and angry because I felt like I was being prevented from getting something, from doing something, even from sharing something. But I don't feel that way now. Also don't feel that what I could share, I should share. I don't feel that way either. And it's a type of freedom. And so we travel we seem like we're traveling from this shore to another. But actually, there is nowhere to go, and there is no one going. Then life takes on a different quality. We have a different definition of what life is. The Apostle Paul said, I was in the third heaven on the Lord's day. Said, whether in the body or out of the body, I don't know. Thank you for coming today. May you be well and happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you and no danger. May you always be able to meet the inevitable difficulties of life. I gotta tell you, Joe, I see the doctor next week and I'm hoping that he says I can start driving again. It's been a long time and my car won't even start. So a lot of times I get, I try not to put together, I try to like just read, all week and let things just sit to see what, I have no idea what the Dharma talk will be, but just trying to prepare myself, just trying to set the table, expecting the meal to come. And so usually like in the last half an hour or so, it all comes together. But since Joe has been bringing me to Dharma, as soon as I get in the car, Joe starts talking and I can't think about I can't think about the Dharma. And I get here at the door and I'm like, oh my goodness, my last half an hour that I was gonna pull something together, Joe just killed that. He just killed that for me. So, but it's all good. I love my morning times with Joe. I really do. I really do. I'm gonna miss this when I'm back to driving my own car. You're gonna miss it too. Thank you for coming. So if I wanted to just take a few minutes for you all to, many of you have not met some of the Dharmacharyas of our order. And so if you could like just introduce yourselves. I'm just so happy it's been so long. Y'all don't think I really have any, but I do.
I was given the name of Kutabaya. I mostly go by Abaya these days because it's shorter and easier for people who are Buddhist. I'm a Buddhist prison chaplain up in Vancouver, in Canada, and have been working 11 years, pretty much full time in men's prisons, teaching Dhamma. And yeah, it's great to see everyone. I look forward to meeting you all today.
And a trailblazer too, she is.
Hi, I was given the Dharma name Dasil, and I live in the same house as the prison chaplain. And I have been, I don't know what I'm waiting for. I think I'm waiting until I retire, which is not that far away, to start doing more with the Dhamma and starting to actually, I'm doing my own practice, but I'm not reaching out in that way. But when I actually am not working full time, I think that there'll be some stuff coming. So that's what I'm at. Yeah.
Hey everyone, yeah, my name is Michael. Flew in from Texas last night. I was given the name Amadya Gita. And so I carry my practice with me as far as trying to be an example of like what the Dharmacharya, means to be an example. And so I work for a nonprofit overseeing overdose response teams, helping people with substance use disorder, trying to help them get connected with treatment. And on top of that, we have a small nonprofit community Dharma center there in Fort Worth that we've opened in January. It's very small, very small seeds starting, but we have some regulars that are coming, and again, it's a gift to the community is the way I look at it. So I'm definitely not the scholar, but I like to emphasize practice. Let's practice, and go from there. Something I heard not too long ago also was making your practice beautiful. So that way we can. I like to share that.
Thank you so much for coming.
Well, actually, Elsie's not here. She left town because of the fires, but she is our Dharma sister, and that's our Dharma brothers. My name's Pia Deepa, which means love, seen, and understood, and it's been that since I took refuge. And that name is still something that I need to and to embody. But I'm part of that program too, and it's been a beautiful opportunity to be part of that journey and to rise to that occasion.